Hello and welcome. Today we're going to focus on illustrating decimals. If you take a look at this sheet right here, you'll see that there are two tens and one one, giving us 21. We're going to focus on the one in the ones place there. We're actually going to zoom in on that so that we can break it up. So let's get started. Alright, so we're going to take this 21, focus in on that 1, and we're going to zoom way in. And as you can see, as we zoom in and it comes into focus, it is now broken into 100 equal pieces. We can see that 100 out of 100 of these pieces are shaded blue. And we know that 100 over 100 is a whole fraction, which gives us 1. So that means we have 1 unit. Now you may be asking yourself, well, what happens if not all of them are shaded in? Let's take a look at the next one to find out. All right, when I take a look at this one, I can see that not all of them are shaded in. I can see that 22 out of 100 are shaded in. Now, there's a simple way to write this as a decimal. I could count up the 22 here, and I could say that there are 0 wholes and 22 hundredths, the same as what's written in the fraction down here. Another way I could do it is if I counted up my tenths, 1/10, 2/10, I can see that I have 2/10 here, and I count my 100th, 200th, and I have my 200ths there. Let's take a look at the next one. Here is another example. If I were to count all these up, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tenths, or 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 hundredths. So I can write this in two ways. This is 70 over 100. And I can write it two ways. I can write 0 wholes and 70 hundredths, or another way that you can do it is you can actually just write 0.7 because there are 7 tenths there. This 0 on the end here has no value. So you could continue to add zeros all the way across and it wouldn't matter. They represent the same things. So 0.7 and 0.70 or 70 are both correct. Another way to illustrate a decimal, you can have just the vertical lines here, not the lines running across or horizontally. So it's just cut into tenths. So you can see that 9 out of 10 are here. So that's 9 tenths, which would give us 0.9 because this is our tenths place value. So we have 9 tenths here, or 0.9. All right, so this is an example of something that might trip some people up. When we take a look at this, we can see that obviously we don't have any holes here. Another thing that we don't have are tenths columns filled in. None of those lines are filled in from top to bottom. What we have actually is just hundredths in here. And if I were to count them, I would say that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hundredths in there. And because of that, we can see that there are 0 ones. There are 0 wholes. There's also 0 tenths here, but there are 6 hundredths. Now this is the part that most people will get tripped up on. That 0 has to be there as a placeholder to say that there are no full columns or rows filled in here. The common mistake here is that students will accidentally say that this is 0.6, but 0.6 actually represents 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, and as we can see, that's not the case. So we need to have this 0 here to make it 0.06, not 0.6, because it is only 6 hundredths. So we've run through a few examples, and you're probably looking at this thinking, okay, I could probably solve this, and you can. So it's pretty simple. We have one entire unit here. Everything is filled in. So in our ones, we have 1 whole. We can see that there are some tenths and hundredths here, and if I were to count all of those up, I'd have 10, 20, 30, and then 7. So I'd have 37 hundredths, or I'd have 37 hundredths here, and that shows up as 3/10, 1, 2, 3/10 right here, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hundredths here. So we know that that is correct, 1.37. That's the whole tutorial on illustrating decimals. If you're finding that you're having trouble with certain decimal illustrations, just come back into this video and re-watch certain sections and then give it a try again.